Thank you, Joyful Ringers. Good morning. I'm Pastor Misugyu, and I'm so glad to worship with you today. Wherever you are on the journey, you are always welcome. I just opened the hymnal as I'm listening to their music for the beauty of the earth, for the joy of a human love, friends on earth and friends above, for all gentle thoughts and mild. Lord of all, to thee we raise this hymn, our grateful praise. So grateful to be here, be with you this morning. Please sign your attendance at the church website, gocumc.org. If you are visiting us online, please check us the visitor section. And if you hear us for the first time, please stop by the welcome podium following the service. We would like to talk to you and get to know you better. And if you have some question, we can answer that. Thank you for joining us. Thursday, we held our blood drive. Linda Millen, I think, yes. Do you want to give us some update? You can stand and say yes. Did you hear that all? Yes, thank you. And that was my first time actually participating, and now I understand why giving blood is sharing yourself, your life. Yeah, the symbol of the blood in the Old Testament. So when next time our nurturing team is, hosting again, please participate and save lives. The youth group will meet this Friday at 5 o'clock. Last year, we started a new tradition, reaching out to our neighbors in our strip mall, like a preschool and small stores. So we're going to pack little gifts for them and some holiday messages. So pack them, and we're going to drop it. So join us at 5 o'clock this Friday, youth group. The fall church cleanup day is rescheduled for coming Saturday. Yesterday was not so good, so we'll clean up inside and outside and put the greens. Yeah, we'll deck the hall this season. So put decoration, Christmas decoration. I hope to see many of you this Saturday. And check the insert for the poinsettia order, the red one in your bulletin. So if you want to donate for the Christmas Eve service and for the season, please fill it out and drop it in the offering basket or in the church office. And another thing, our Christmas season, the mission project, Giving Tree, is up. And we have adopted one family of 8 family members. It's a big family, so you can pick up these tags, and we also sponsoring some holiday meal of $30 for the family. And I hope next week it's mostly gone, so we can hang more, so we can support more families who are in need. So this is in partner with the Grafton Food Pantry in Huntley. And we have a special friend to introduce to you today, and I invite Becky Cook, the staff parish chair, committee chair, come.
Good morning, everyone. You may have noticed this morning we had a wonderful pianist at our keyboard before service, playing some nice prelude music for us. His name is Shalom Coker, and his wife Adriana is also with us today. So I'd like you to welcome them and. He will be our interim pianist for a while. Thank you.
Yes, so I'm so excited. We have one more great, wonderful ministry partner, and we'll just enjoy and be grateful for more beautiful music he will share with us. Thank you. And this time, let us join this opening prayer on the screen. I don't think I make it as a bold responsive, but we can all join as a one voice. Could you show us the next slide? Next one. All right. Most wonderful God, in you there is always more blessings than we can imagine. Please give to us that generous spirit that places all that we have at your disposal. Then by the love of Christ, Let it be multiplied in ways we cannot measure or control, for the welfare of humanity and the glory of your name, through Jesus our Lord. Amen. Okay. Can I use Becky's microphone, Eric, for the children's time? Children, please come forward. Come. Sit there. Don't open it yet, Ruby. How are you guys? Good? You had a fun Saturday yesterday? Did you go out play? Maybe not inside, right? Yeah, I didn't want to go out yesterday either. Today, whole church family will share a story about some miracle. So, I wonder, when you go to school, do you pack your lunch or you buy the cafeteria school lunch? Cafeteria lunch. How about Ruby? Pack your lunch? Both? So sometimes buy, sometimes pack. What's your favorite menu for lunch? You don't know? Peanut butter sandwich? Not so much. Yeah, sometimes my William like some leftover fancy sandwiches you want to take with him. So Jesus was one day at the a hillside. So many people were gathering to listen to him. And as usual, he was teaching by telling a story. And people were just listening to him. And they didn't know it's already past the meal time, almost the sunset time. And in the hillside, they were a little bit far off from the city where there's these days restaurant or you can drive through McDonald's. There's no such a thing at the time. So people were getting hungry. So Jesus thought, I better maybe let these people not hungry anymore feed them, and ask the disciple, feed these people. But as they look around, how many people do you think here right now worshiping? Can you guess? Give me some guess. 20? 30? Maybe, 25 or whatever? 32. Okay, good guess. Can you guess how many were there that day? 100? Go up. More? Oh, not millions. But there, in the Bible, it says about 5,000 people, not counting you children, your little children, or maybe possibly not even women. So many people crowd. So the disciples said, what? We cannot fit that many people, Jesus, and we cannot go to the city. It's going to take a while. We don't have money. We don't have time. We don't have car, blah, blah, blah. And as they are going into the crowds, they found the boy coming with his lunchbox. So at that time, there's no lunch bag, but most likely this, some sack in a basket. And he come, here, I have something I want to share. So what he brought was, what's this? What looks like not real, but looks like a bread, loaf of bread, right? And he had 5 loaves of this bread. And he also had another lunch basket. What does fish? Is fish your favorite? Looks like enough for Ruby. Ruby says, hey, you're glad I didn't bring the real fish. Huh? Right, he had 2 fish. So as he's bringing this to Jesus, more people remembered, we stacked our supper today too. More and more people brought them to the disciples, and somehow miraculously, it just multiplied, like this fruit snack. Okay, here's one for you. And another person, one for you. How about Melissa? One for you too. And Ruby, do you want? Yes, one for you. Oh, you missed the catch. And there was still more. So after everybody was so full, there was still left over. That's how God's miracle worked through the people when they shared what they had. So today we're going to more share this story later with our adult congregation. But remember, whatever you have, it doesn't matter how small or big or how much, God blesses that.
And when you share, it just keep growing, multiplying. That's how God's Jesus' mathematic works. Can you remember that? So you share even the small listed thing you have, and that love, kindness you have, and you're going to learn more about the Bible story in the Sunday school room, okay? So that's going to be your snack. But could you gather your hands together? Bring it close to your heart, and let us pray. Loving God, thank you for gathering us this morning to worship together. We are here to listen to your word. So bless your children. They can grow as your little but strong disciples, and watch over them all the time. Let them grow wise and strong. And whatever gifts they may have from you, they can share it with others, with their friends. So bless them and watch over them. We pray in your holy name. Amen. Okay, now you go to the Sunday school. It's me again. This morning we have a responsive psalm reading, so we'll read together Psalm 145. I will exalt you, my God and King, and bless your name forever and ever.
Every day I will bless you and praise your name forever and ever.
Great is the Lord, and greatly to be praised. His greatness is unsearchable.
One generation shall laud your works to another, and shall declare your mighty acts.
On the glorious splendor of your majesty, and on your wondrous works I will meditate.
The might of your awesome deeds shall be proclaimed, and I will declare your greatness.
They shall celebrate the fame of your abundant goodness, and shall sing aloud of your righteousness.
The Lord is gracious and merciful, slow to anger, and abounding in steadfast love.
The Lord is good to all, and his compassion is over all that he has made.
All your works shall give thanks to you, O Lord, and all your faithful shall bless you.
They shall speak of the glory of your kingdom and tell of your power.
We make known to all people your mighty deeds and the glorious splendor of your kingdom.
Your kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and your dominion endures throughout all generations.
The Lord is faithful in all his words and gracious in all his deeds.
The Lord upholds all who are falling and raises up all who are bowed down.
The eyes of all look to you, and you give them their food in due season.
You open your hand, satisfying the desire of every living thing.
The Lord is just in all his ways and kind in all his doings.
The Lord is near to all who call on him, to all who call on him in truth.
He fulfills the desire of all who fear him. He also hears their cry and saves them.
The Lord watches over all who love him, but all the wicked he will destroy.
My mouth will speak the praise of the Lord, and all flesh will bless his holy name forever and ever.
Amen. We'll hear the gospel reading. Jeanette.
From the gospel today is Matthew 14:13 through 21. Now, when Jesus heard this, he withdrew from there in a boat to a deserted place by himself. But when the crowds heard it, they followed him on foot from the towns. Then he went ashore, and he saw a great crowd, and he had compassion for them and cured their sick. When it was evening, the disciples came to him and said, "This is a deserted place, and the hour is now late. Send the crowds away so that they may go into the villages and buy food for themselves." Jesus said to them, "They need not go away. You give them something to eat." They replied, "We have nothing here but 5 loaves and 2 fish." And he said, "Bring them here to me." Then he ordered the crowds to sit down on the grass. Taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, he looked up to heaven and blessed and broke the loaves and gave them to the disciples, and the disciples gave them to the crowds. And all ate and were filled. And they took up what was left over of the broken pieces, 12 baskets full. And those who ate were about 5,000 men, besides women and children. The word of God for the people of God.
So gratitude is not an incidental thing. It's not an optional thing. It's not something nice that we happen to do in order to make our lives better. But if the central vision of the monotheistic hope that is expressed in Judaism and Christianity and in all of its forms and in Islam, the central hope of those texts, of those traditions, is that of a table. It's about feasting eternally. This is why we have the Passover meal. This is why Jewish festivals are all based around harvest celebrations and God's abundance. This is why Christianity has the Eucharist. This is why Islam has Ramadan, is that you fast in order to experience the depth of gratitude of the feast that follows. Feasting, the table, is central. And in every one of those traditions, the ritual practice, the most ancient thing that we have in those traditions is the idea of blessing the table at the beginning. And then if we carried through the whole vision, we would also bless it at the end. But we still, even in fairly secular communities, there are often table blessings that start meals. And that's a memory of this beautiful primal thing that human beings were gifted with at the very beginning.
It remembers us to that story.
Right. It remembers the story. It puts the story back together. It puts us around the table. And so, of course, in contemporary society, the problem is that we live in this tension between society that is still largely based on tit for tat, quid pro quo, these hierarchical debt and duty ideas of gratitude. I can do that, you don't give me anything. And yet, the most profound religious vision, the one that has often eluded us most substantially, is the core thing, is the core idea, is that God has gifted the universe with everything. We sit around a table, and the first words of awareness, the first words of our lives should always be thankful. Thank you, or I'm so grateful. Then, of course, we think about the table of our lives. If the first words are thank you, so the last words are also thank you. Gratitude is the primary moral framework of life in God.
Today, I have a special speaker and my good friend. I actually misspelled his name. I've been typing his name, Christ Walter, but his name is Chris Walters. There should be an S with his last name. He is an elder in our conference in Full Connection, and he's the president of the United Methodist Foundation of the Northern Illinois Conference. So thank you for coming out this cold morning, and I'll introduce Reverend Chris Walters. Come forward here and share his message. Welcome him.
Thank you. I invite you to bow your heads and join me in prayer. Dear God, we are so blessed to have this community and this altar table and the table of our lives that we gather around as the church, as families, as friends, as people called by you to be generous to each other, to be generous to the world, to shine forth your gospel light of grace to all who see our lives, who see our church, who see the many blessings that you have given us through the lives that you have given us. Lord, may we magnify your grace throughout this community, throughout this state, throughout this country and this world, Lord, so that all may come to the knowledge of your Son, Jesus Christ, in whose name we pray. Amen. Thank you. Well, we're heading into the holiday season, and I think many of you probably have a tradition of watching It's a Wonderful Life, that great 1946 classic movie with James Stewart and Donna Reed starring as George and Mary Bailey. You may recall at the climax of It's a Wonderful Life, George Bailey prays, "Please, I want to live again, I want to live again, I want to live again. Please, God, let me live again." And then he runs home to his wife and his children on Christmas Eve. The world he knew is restored. He runs upstairs to embrace his children. His wife, Mary, comes to the front door and runs up the stairs to meet the whole family in a big group hug. As they run down the stairs, Mary exclaims, "They're on their way." In the living room, she energetically sweeps off the wrapping paper from the table in front of the Christmas tree. And she shouts, almost out of breath, "I hear him coming now, George. It's a miracle, it's a miracle." And Uncle Billy is the first person to come through the door with a huge straw basket full of cash. And he dumps it on the table. Now, what's the miracle that Mary is talking about here in this wonderful climax of this great movie? Is the miracle the money? No, the miracle is not the money. Generous people gather and come to the rescue. That's the miracle. George needed $8,000, which back then was a considerable sum of money. People dump that much money and probably much more on that table in front of the Christmas tree. And then Ernie reads a telegram from Sam Wainwright in London. "My office instructed to advance you up to $25,000. George's need is met with overwhelming abundance. What drives the people to rescue George? Is it George's need? Or is it their gratitude for George? I think this is kind of a trick question. I think it's both, but in the movie, it's clearly their gratitude for George and everything that he's done for the community through the Building and Loan Company. Now, this morning we heard the familiar story of the feeding of the multitude, and we commonly think this story is a story about the miracle of multiplying the loaves and the fishes. In fact, excepting the resurrection, this is the only miracle story told in all four Gospels. The story in Matthew's version starts, "Now when Jesus heard this, he withdrew from there." What is the this that the writer is talking about? The this is the news of the beheading of John the Baptist. Verses 11 and 12, "The head was brought on a platter, and given to the girl who brought it to her mother. His disciples came and took the body and buried it. Then they went and told Jesus. So Jesus runs away to be by himself, and the disciples want to send the people away, but Jesus feeds the multitude. So what's the miracle here? The conventional answer is, well, it's the multiplication of the food. Now you see, Jesus, whom Luke explains as John the Baptist's cousin, was probably very distraught by this news about John the Baptist and his execution. When Jesus hears this news about John, he runs away to be alone. And can you blame him? When the multitude hears the news, they gather around Jesus. The disciples want to send them away to buy food for themselves. But Jesus instructs the disciples to bring the people to them, and then they have a great feast. So what's the miracle here? It's the same miracle in It's a Wonderful Life. The miracle is that many people gather around the table of Christ and come to the rescue. Jesus is grieving. Perhaps he's terrified because of the violence. But when the multitude hears the news, they gather around Jesus. They have an abundant feast with 12 baskets full left over. The miracle is the same miracle we experience in Holy Communion. Generous people gather around the table to the feast to minister to each other. What does the pastor invoke at Holy Communion? What do we say when we're presiding there? Make them, the elements, be for us the body and blood of Christ, that we, the church, may be for the world the body of Christ. That's the only miracle that we need to display to the world. That we are the gathered body of Christ for the world. Now, in our time, in our place of postmodernism and post-enlightenment rationality and all these other isms that we have today, we need to center ourselves as Christians in this Eucharistic sense. Above and beyond all of our other identities, which are important, but we need the presence of people, the church, the gathered church, and our relationships in a community of rescue, of mutual edification, of generosity. Even Jesus was distraught, filled in grief, and needed people, and they gathered around him. People need people. But more and more, it seems like we're getting better and better at inventing new ways and technologies to fulfill our need for people and for relationships through mediated means that we call social media. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to go on a rant about technology. I love technology. I used to be a director of information technology, so I'm kind of a geek. I love technology. But what I'm talking about is the deep nature of the church as the gathered body of Christ. We're celebrating together, we're ministering together, and we're multiplying the abundance of God and God's grace and redemption for the whole world. That's the only miracle that we need to display to the world, is the gathering of the church. Diana Butler Bass said it well in the video clip that we saw. We sit around a table, and the first words of awareness, the first words of our lives should always be thankful. Thank you. I'm so grateful. Then, of course, we think about the table of our lives. If the first words are thank you, so the last words are also thank you. Gratitude is the primary moral framework of life in God. The first words are thank you. The last words also are thank you. When I was in my teens and my 20s, I worked several customer service jobs. I said thank you thousands and thousands and thousands of times. And sometimes the customers would say thank you back. I love that. Saying thank you in customer service is, and it still should be, can I preach a little bit? Essential to customer service. I have to be honest with you, it gets a little bit on my nerves as a customer when there's no hello and there's no thank you. That's the bare minimum, please. One job I had was in a small family-owned pharmacy. This was Plum Grove Drugs on Plum Grove Road. And I talked with many of the regular customers. When it was slow, sometimes people would just come in because they want to have some social time. And I would talk to some of the regular customers. And my favorite dialogue partner was a retired professor of linguistics from Lithuania. You see, I had graduated from college and I was going back to school again to become a teacher. And I would read books during these slow times. And during that time in my life, I was reading a lot of philosophy. And he started our relationship by asking me about what books was I reading. So I would tell him what I was reading. And then we would talk philosophy when he would come into the store. This was his lifelong hobby, was reading philosophy. Like I said, I was a fresh college graduate, passionate about Christian apologetics, defending the faith, and he was a Jewish atheist. He was always so humble and grateful for his life. At the start of World War II, there were about 160,000 Jews in Lithuania. And when the Nazis invaded Poland, many of those Polish Jews fled to Lithuania, expanding the population to about 250,000 Jews living in Lithuania. The Nazis massacred 9 out of 10 Jews in Lithuania, just shot them, to prepare this tiny country for German colonization. About 10,000 Lithuanian Jews were sent to concentration camps. You see, my dialogue partner had just graduated from college when he was rounded up and sent to a camp in Poland. He was the sole survivor of his family. And I will never forget when he rolled up his sleeve, it showed me his forearm and the number that was tattooed there when he was in Auschwitz. I don't remember his name, but I remember his face. I remember his clothes. I remember his thick accent. I remember his boundless curiosity about human nature. We gathered so many times around that table of gratitude for life, talking about philosophy and theology. That table was like an altar to me. It was a dirty laminate countertop covered with point-of-sale candy and surrounded by cartons of cigarettes. But those things didn't matter. We gathered around that countertop table and talked and built a relationship. That table was sacred space. I think he spoke 11 languages fluently, and he knew a considerable amount of vocabulary in dozens of other languages. And he taught me how to say hello and thank you in many languages, some of which I remember. By the way, how do you say thank you in Lithuanian, do you know? Ačiū. Like when you sneeze, ačiū, ačiū. That's kind of a joke for Lithuanians when they come into an English-speaking country. Ačiū, that's thank you in Lithuanian. We all know this phrase, practice makes perfect, which refers to kind of ongoing training. If you do it over and over again, you get better at it. this practice makes perfect is also true in the spiritual discipline of generosity. Whether it's simply through saying thank you or in the ongoing discipline of charitable giving, it's so important to practice that spiritual discipline of being grateful. People can't run a marathon without training at all. You have to train. You have to run over and over again on a regular basis. This is true with the spirituality of generosity. People can be generous and they can give here and there to different causes, but that doesn't build stamina for the building of God's kingdom. The author of Hebrews writes about running the race with perseverance. Remember that scripture? Paul writes in 1 Corinthians chapter 9, "Do you not know that in a race the runners all compete, but only one receives the prize? Run in such a way that you may win it." So he's not saying only one person wins the prize. He's saying, metaphorically, one person wins the race. But what you should do is you should run so that you may win the race. Run with perseverance. And he says, athletes exercise self-control in all things. They do it to receive a perishable wreath, but we an imperishable one. The psalmist proclaims, as we heard and as we recited this morning, one generation shall laud your works to another and shall declare your mighty acts. They shall celebrate the fame of your abundant goodness. All your works shall give thanks to you, O Lord, and all your faithful shall bless you. Now, many of you gathered here this morning have gathered around the table of gratitude for God's abundant blessings for many years. Some of you I've known for many decades, like Janet and Deb Kleckner, grew up together in the Palatine Church. Many of you know what it's like to gather around God's table of generosity and to express how grateful you are for your life and your abundant blessings in the church. We condition ourselves to run the race in this way. But running the race of life in itself is not to the ultimate goal. Finishing the race is the ultimate goal. That Lithuanian gentleman, he couldn't believe in God. Now, can you blame him for that? It's understandable. But he understood what Diana Butler Bass said this morning in the video clip when she said, gratitude is the primary moral framework of life in God. He had deep experience and insight into the amazing blessing that is life. When we gathered around that countertop altar in the drugstore and discussed philosophy and theology, I was the same age that he was when he was sent to Auschwitz. I'd like to think that God is quite pleased with his many thank yous. And God doesn't much care about his philosophical beliefs. The psalmist declared, one generation shall laud your works to another. They shall celebrate the fame of your abundant goodness. All your works shall give thanks to you, O Lord, and all your faithful shall bless you. Jesus blessed and broke the loaves and gave them to the disciples, and the disciples gave them to the crowds. The only miracle we need to display to the world is the gathering of the church. But it's the ongoing spiritual discipline of expressing gratitude and generosity that fuels our gathering. What if we see our ultimate act of generosity as the church and to the church, like the many people coming to the table in George Bailey's living room at the end of It's a Wonderful Life? If only Uncle Billy showed up with his basket, that wouldn't have been good enough to rescue George. The reason why this scene on Christmas Eve is so powerful and so moving is that many generous people showed up and showered the table with their cumulative generosity. Can you, the church, be like those people at the end of It's a Wonderful Life? Can you shower the table of Christ with your abundant generosity? Have you proclaimed the ultimate act of your generosity in your will or your trust? There are so many ways that you can express your generosity from your abundance. Just like those people in Bedford Falls. If you watch that scene closely, you will see that even the guy, the bank examiner, I think, that came there, and I think they came to arrest George too, even those people gave money to the table in front of the Christmas tree. And they did it grudgingly, but they still gave. There were many diverse people that came from all over the town to give to rescue George and his family. I would love to talk to you after the service and possibly arrange with you a time where we could talk on the phone or meet in person or meet on Zoom to talk about how you may be able to bless this church or other charities that you care about with your ultimate act of giving. I'm here to help you. Please, I look forward to those conversations. Thank you and amen.
we walk this journey together as a one family and as brothers and sisters in Christ. And this is the moment that lift up our hearts of prayer for our family and friends, our community, and our nation and our world. So this morning, I give you thanks. I'll give thanks to God for Dwayne Graff. He had a surgery in his left hand. Dwayne's here, right? He didn't come. Dwayne, and everything went well. He's recuperating at home, and Janet's here, so you can have full report from her if you wanna, talk to her. So she's going to take care of him. So rehearsal. Janet, you didn't need to say that. Anyway, so our prayers of thanksgiving. Lord, in your mercy, hear our prayers. And we've been praying for our churches, Methodist, our friends, sister churches in the Prairie. Which district do you remember we are in? Prairie? Yes, Prairie Central, our new district name. So I pulled out those 3 churches' names so far, and let me see if I can pick out. Woodridge Church. And that's the church, I think Danita Anderson is the pastor. I just had right? Yeah, we had some, pastors who are appointed in cross-racial, cross-cultural appointment. We had a 2-hour wonderful covenantal meeting during the week. So prayers for her. According to I heard from her, she's been serving there 8 years. Everything's going well. And I don't know if you saw the district e-news, but there was last Friday, very detailed prayer request for our congregation went out. I shared with this prayer team in our conference. So continue to pray for Woodridge United Methodist Church. This is a wonderful way we can support each other. There are many unspoken prayers in our hearts. Always remember those who are listed in our bulletin and e-news prayer section. So pray for our friends and family, and let us take a silent moment and pray together. New every morning is your love, great God of light. We give you thanks for this day, for your grace poured out to us. Thank you for filling our spirits with your light of love through your message proclaimed, the songs in words and the melodies. In this circle of friendship, in this moment of a prayer, we lift our hearts to you, merciful God. We ask for your care and healing touch for those who are sick. We ask for your compassion on those who are suffering in our world. We ask for your comfort and peace for those who are grieving. Your Son, Jesus, blessed the simple gifts of bread and fish and fed the hungry people. 5 loaves and 2 fish are probably never enough until someone starts giving it away. So remind us today to share whatever is in our baskets, because when we give in love, you will do the rest. You will bless us and give us away as the broken body, the broken bread for the hungry and weary world. Mold us more and more like Jesus inside and out, and use us, Christ United Methodist Church, as your instrument of peace, justice, and love. We ask this through the name of Jesus and pray as he taught us, saying, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. And now with a grateful heart, we'll sing this great song forever. So I invite you, please rise in body or in spirit. Let us sing together.
Give thanks to the Lord, our God and King. His love endures forever. For he is good, he is above all things. His love endures forever. Sing praise, sing praise. With a mighty hand and an outstretched arm, his love endures forever. For the life that's been reborn, his love endures forever. Sing praise, sing praise, sing praise, sing praise. Forever God is faithful, forever God is strong, forever God is with us, forever. From the rising to the setting sun, his love endures forever. And by the grace of God, we will carry on. His love endures forever. Sing praise, sing praise, sing praise, sing praise. Forever God is faithful, forever God is strong, forever God is with us, forever. Forever God is faithful, forever God is strong, forever God is with us, forever, forever.
Amen. You have worshiped God. You have experienced the gathering of the body of Christ around this table, around the table of your hearts and your minds, your worship, all of the ways that you minister to each other. I send you forth knowing that you are the body of Christ, that whether you are gathered here or in spirit as you go out into the world, you may shine his grace into the world that it so much desperately needs. Amen.